This video will contain tons of spoilers for Go-Go Loser Ranger or Ranger Reject. When you think of a hero, certain characteristics come to mind. Bravery, humility, selflessness, compassion, someone who displays integrity, conviction, confidence, a willingness to sacrifice themselves in the face of danger to protect, as well as an ability to lead others. These are some of the key traits that come to mind when I think of what it means to be a hero, but unfortunately, Sousei Akabane, also known as the Red Dragon Keeper, is not that. And today, we'll be diving deeper into his character from early on in the manga all the way up to the most recent arc around chapter 130 and looking into another side of Sousei that has recently been revealed as more of his story is peeled back. On the surface, or better yet, when the cameras are on, he actually can be seen demonstrating all of the ideas I mentioned before and appears to be a true hero. He is the leader of the Dragon Rangers, a group formed with the purpose of protecting the world from those who would harm it, and their enemies are the army of evil invaders who came to our world to kill innocents and take over the planet. Sousei leads this group into the public. They demonstrate each week how strong they are while protecting their charade about there being dangers lurking about and that everyone will be okay as long as the Dragon Rangers are around. When seen on TV or live at a Sunday battle, Red wants to appear to be someone to look up to, someone who will always be there as the shining star to count on and to save the day. But when the bright lights go away and the media isn't around to capture who he really is, Red shows his true colors. Behind closed doors, Sousei Akabane is an aggressive, narcissistic, manipulative, self-centered man who only shows respect to those who are on his level in both strength and popularity because of what it means for the Dragon Rangers to appear to be unified in the eyes of the public. He can always be seen wearing his ranger outfit. There are times when we see other rangers in casual clothing, but never Sousei. He cares way too much about his appearance, and he appears to be about medium height among the rangers, and that also matters to him because symmetry in the ranger's pose is very important. He also wears his hair sort of slicked down with slightly parted on the right side. He has red eyes and a mole underneath his left eye. The character that people compare Sousei to most should come as no surprise to you. It's Homelander from The Boys, who shares many similarities to Sousei, being the nice guy you look up to on camera, but someone completely different when the eyes aren't on him. In truth, the war with the evil invaders had been won long ago due to the Dragon Keepers killing off the bosses or executive monsters in the invader forces, but because these enemies are weak and unable to die unless killed in a very specific way, the Dragon Keepers use this opportunity to force the pathetic invaders to hold mock battles every week, and these battles are held as spectacle where people come and watch the events, and money spent on tickets and Ranger merchandise feed the pockets of the Ranger to keep them in the limelight with sponsorships and commercials. As long as things are going according to plan, Sousei kinda doesn't seem like that bad of a guy, but his fuse is very short, and because of this, he is often seen flipping his top and revealing his nature to even those he should really want to have the best relationships with. Sousei is one of the main antagonists of this story, and though he isn't present in every single arc, his character is always on the mind of the reader and the main character D, who wants to kill every one of the Dragon Keepers. In the first arc, we see the first layer of Sousei, the one that he wants everyone to see, but through D, we get to see the truth. When D infiltrates Ranger HQ to get closer to them, we can see Red being there to cheer on new recruits who are taking the entrance exams. And he can be seen around the headquarters speaking and offering encouragement to new people. This is very normal as Sousei is someone who wants to be liked and also to improve the morale around the headquarters. He understands that in order for their organization and farce to work, there needs to be people interested in joining the Rangers and also happy to do so. So he'll promote a healthy work environment and positivity when he needs to. It helps his image after all. But later we can see through flashbacks that there have been times where Red approached the foot soldiers to force them into servitude, basically allowing them to live as long as they keep being entertaining so the Rangers can make money. But he does not care about a single one of their lives. Not only threatening these immortal henchmen with permanent death, but also rubbing it in their face that they are the ones who killed all of their bosses. When D manages to steal his tool, Red calls for a meeting with the other keepers and admits that he messed up, and requests everyone to be on high alert and focus on retrieving his dragon tool. Jin Himura, Red's second in command, speaks up and all but demands Sousei step down for making such a blunder and says there is none better than himself to take up the mantle, which Sousei agrees on since they have a history, and we can see that Red had trained Himura from a cadet to junior first class, but then brutally murders him in front of all of the other Rangers in junior first class. It's this moment that you truly see how brutal Red Keeper can be, and if he can do this to his guy that's right under him, then there's no telling what he can do to anyone else course, who angers him. Following the banquet, Red and Blue head to the fortress to threaten the foot soldiers and tell them that because of D stealing his tool, their already limited freedom will now be monitored by a select few members of Blue Battalion. He speaks calmly to them, but they know how fierce and scary his words are, so they dare not oppose him. All but one, of course, who does speak out and is quickly put in his place. The weak don't resist the strong, and the strong don't fear the weak. Once Red makes their places known, he says that the first step has been taken towards world peace, but what he's doing isn't for world peace. Red is a psychopath who bullies the foot soldiers and does it with a smile on his face. After the Dragon Tool fiasco, Red takes a backseat for a while, not appearing in the following arcs where D meets Hekiru in the woods or the Bylong exam arc, except for a certain moment when we see Blue Keeper's backstory. Before Shogo Aoshima, also known as the Blue Dragon Keeper, became the Blue Keeper, he was a street thug making money doing odd jobs, stealing shipments and guns or things like that to sell and make money so that he can take it back to his adoptive father, the current Blue Keeper at the time. Unfortunately, the one giving Shogo and his gang their jobs was an executive who set them up, and when Shogo realized that, he was attacked. Somehow he survived, but he was saved by Red, who patched him up and manipulated Shogo into becoming the new Blue Keeper after the former had gotten wounded. Driven into a corner, fueled by his rage that he wanted to let out on Andrega, the invader, and also facing jail time if he refused Sousei's offer, Shogo becomes the new Blue Keeper. And in a later continuation of this flashback, we see that while he was unconscious from his first run with Andrega, Red had a surgery done on Shogo's body that was necessary to become a Dragon Keeper so that he could wield the Dragon Tool's power. That same surgery has a 50% chance of failing and causing the person's body to fall apart. It was, of course, as we know, a success, but Sousei did this without his consent and could have killed him, and Red would have just simply swept it under the rug. Following the Bylong exam arc, Red promotes Shion, even though he didn't pass the exam, to becoming a member of Red Battalion and secretly assigns him a special mission to investigate the members of his cadet class, namely D and Usakubo, under suspicion of an invader infiltrating the Rangers. Shogo and Shion both being examples of Sousei's manipulation, only made possible by use of his power, influence, and strength. Shortly after the Dreamy School arc, another Ranger meeting is held and they talk about moving forward. There's a moment where Sousei congratulates Green Battalion in a way that doesn't feel genuine for taking down Magatia. He reveals that deep down he had given up hope on Green Battalion when they had gotten wiped out, and says he wishes he could meet their excellent new recruits, those being the two he has a suspicion on for being invaders. While calling the new Greens excellent, he says he wishes that he could say the same about his own battalion members, while Azuki, the new junior first class, and his battalion can hear it, and being a new guy, he's under a lot of pressure and asks if there's something wrong. Sousei seems to care less about his new JFC and tells him to get him some tea, thinking to himself how he shouldn't let his frustrations show. It's not good for morale after all. And Pink asks why he didn't just promote Tokita, or Shun, to JFC, especially after he got part of his Dragon Tool back for him, and Red acknowledges his ability, but can't stand the idea of having Shun standing next to him because of how he looks. Once again, showing that Red really only cares about his image, saying the viewers would mistake Shun for a bad guy, and he wishes Himura was still around, the guy he killed at the last banquet. This prompts Suzukiri to laugh, and it enrages Red, who grabs her and threatens her, and then the topic of replacing Shogo comes up. While Blue's JFC Izome is sad and in her feelings about Blue's death, Red does comfort her and asks if she has any recommendations for the next Blue Keeper, and she offers to step up to the plate to take on the responsibility, but of course Red rudely refuses her, calling her a midget and saying that her size would ruin their signature pose. As the meeting is wrapping up, Red's JFC hears that it's about to end, so he heads over, rushing over with the tea, but he trips up and the glass spills all over Sousei, once again causing Sousei to snap and kill another of his JFCs. After this meeting is over, Hisui and Chidori are seen talking about Red. Hisui suggests all the other members should just gang up on him and take him out, but Chidori says, if only it were that simple, implying that there is more to Red that we don't know. This isn't the first time we see Rangers talking about what to do about Sousei behind his back. After the first time he snapped and killed a JFC, Pink Battalion members approached Suzukiri telling her that Pink and Green had already arranged a meetup to discuss Red's unforgivable behavior. Red isn't liked within his own inner circle. The people under and beside him wish that they can take him out. Following the meeting, D and Suzukiri conspire to follow and assassinate Green Ranger, but that is interrupted by a number of things, including, you guessed it, Sousei, who is working off the clock. In this case, you'd probably argue that, yeah, a guy fighting evil late at night like this has to be heroic, but this is a special case, and the invaders appear to be these brainless, like dog-like monsters that can't be reasoned with, so it's a bit different from the regular foot soldiers. It's probably best to take these out if given the chance, but he fires off his weapon, setting the forest ablaze, not knowing Chidori or Chidori's house is nearby, and watches the flames as they burn down the woods, saying he'll just blame an invader. Displaying the opposite of integrity here, with no cameras watching, he's okay with the whole forest burning down and accepting the credit for taking down the monster while pinning the blame on it. He chats with Chidori for a moment and seems to like him and view him as an equal. This is one of the few times where Sousei seems kinda chill, just talking to a coworker, but he quickly shows disregard for Chidori's home, or at least seems to right after he aims his gun at another monster that appears. Luckily for now, it seems that the house didn't take any damage, but surely Green wouldn't want the location of his home or loved ones to be known by someone like Red in case he ever snapped and went crazy. Or, crazier, to the point where he was attacking his fellow rangers. In the following arc, the gang goes to the zoo, and all of the animals there have been eaten by invaders, the same monster type that they had been dealing with previously. And Red announces that he's the largest animal lover in the world and swears he'll avenge them when the zoo workers and other rangers are around. But when trouble actually finds them, Red is seen taking his very sweet time to jump into action. While everyone else fights off the monsters in the zoo and even a Red battalion member is killed, Red is still just seen putting on his suit because he thinks it matters more to look the part than take action and defeat the monsters. Remember, he actually has to zip up a real ranger suit, sort of like a pajama outfit, instead of having it magically come on because his tool was stolen. By the time Red is clothed, the action is over, and he doesn't even say anything about Benny, the Red member who was killed in that fight. When all of this is over, Sousei finds a nice, quiet corner to undress in, and D spots him and uses this chance to assassinate Red. Something that never should have worked, but it did. Finally, the big bad Red Dragon Keeper is dead. D, after getting over his shock from how easy it was, sure feels happy about it, finally getting his first kill his own way. From here, the next part of Sousei's story begins, and it's some of my favorite writing for him. Following his assassination, D is back at the Green Base watching the Sunday battle live on TV, and he sees that they have not only replaced Blue, but somehow Red is alive and well too. This leads to many questions. How is Red alive? Does killing the Rangers even solve anything, especially if they can just replace them like they did with Blue, or whatever unexplainable thing happened with Red? D questions his goals, and all while a new invader named Wallypon is becoming a major player on social media, trying to expose the Rangers' crimes and demanding they disband, while at the same time a human group calling themselves the Invader Rights Association are also calling out the Rangers for their savagery and trying to be the voice of the invaders, speaking out to give rights to the foot soldiers so that they can have a place in society. To combat this, the Rangers devised the plan to have one of the invaders fake attack citizens on TV, dressed as Wallypon, who claims to have picked the perfect time to attack because the Rangers were off doing things like accepting awards and dining with sponsors, but they arrive in the nick of time, showing how nothing is more important than saving the day. The entire thing was staged, but it was meant to paint Wallypon in a negative light and boost public opinion of the Rangers, and succeeded for a moment. It was after this staged event, at a meetup between the Invader Rights Association and the Dragon Keepers, that everything would fall apart. This meeting was held with the intent of growing the public's distrust in the Rangers. During the meeting, there's a point where the Rangers feel there's no longer a need to continue hiding their identities, and when Red removes his helmet, D is shocked to see that it's Sousei and not someone else who took his place. Following the reveal, the televised portion of their meeting ended, but suddenly Wallypon, the executive, has begun his live stream, something the Rangers were unaware of. While under the impression that people aren't viewing the conversation any longer, Sousei tells Yakushi, the leader of the IRA, that he did a good job, but not to oppose the Rangers again. And Yakushi mentions how he couldn't say while the cameras are rolling, but he's a big fan of the Tokusatsu edition. This is an actual Ranger TV show that takes place in universe that Red was both a mega fan of when he was younger and eventually became a member of as an actor. Yakushi, having laid a trap that Red was unaware of, then insults Sousei to his face and the Rangers, asking if he's even seen the source material and that the remake that he was a part of was trash. As they're shaking hands, and Red snaps, crushing Yakushi's hand and ripping it off in front of everyone in the room, not realizing that one of the Red members in the room was actually Wallypon, disguised and live streaming the entire thing. The true nature of Sousei and the Rangers is revealed to the public, and he realizes how big he screwed up. Following this, the world changed for Sousei, and it was the fall of the Rangers because now everyone saw him for what he was, and the illusion was shattered. Sunday battles came to an end, sponsorships pulled out, members were leaving the battalions every day. Rangers still tried to put on shows, and they were booed and had cans and things thrown at them, and this is what led to the last major arc, the three-way battle. There's like a million things that happened during this arc, but I'll just focus on Sousei. During this arc, the Rangers were believed to have been arrested, but it was all part of the plan just to wait and see what the Invader Rights Association and Wallypon would do in their absence, and they were right to wait. This arc led to a massive battle, and all the Rangers would take their individual fights along with taking shots at the main boss, but Sousei's time in this arc was kinda interesting. For starters, Suzukiri finds what she's been looking for this entire time, and it's revealed that dragon tools are made from special people, and she she's the last one living. But there are clones of her being kept in tanks. Red finds her as she's attempting to free them, and this is one of the most important moments in Red's life in my opinion. He shouts at her about how they aren't human and don't deserve to live. Suzukuri counter-argues, saying that after being given life, they deserve to live it, and Red shouts, no, they don't. They don't have rights. They're just clones and don't matter. He says that life is born from love between people, not created with machines, and calls them ingredients. He then tells Suzukuri to kill the clones, and she refuses, and when Red says he'll do it for her, she threatens to take her own life, which causes Red to back off, only because that would mean they lose access to the last living dragon priestess. Before Red leaves, he tells her that she shouldn't even have free will herself. Her life belongs to the Rangers. The next time we see Sousei, it's when he appears to face off against Yakushi, who has become the all-powerful death messiah, and they once again argue about interpretations from the Ranger TV show. They both have the same favorite episode, which is episode 35, and it left a huge impression on them both. For Yakushi, it's the first time the Dragon Keepers are defeated, but for Sousei, it's when all hope seems to be lost but the Rangers pull out the win. There's a few really interesting things that happen during this arc. We get a screenshot of an old television broadcast announcing the series cancellation for the Tokusatsu series after the Red Keeper, Sousei Akabane, was arrested for murder. Sousei has a moment where he's talking to his dragon tool that's malfunctioning, and he says it's acting like his sister, which he then questions for a moment if that's true. He asks, I did have one, right? I'm sure I had a sister. And when he's flat on his back, he takes a moment to breathe and hears people cheering for the Rangers over a radio and speaks out, asking if Soshi can hear the people, which is interesting. Red shows off a powerful and cool looking new form, announcing that the toy companies had better get to work with making this one soon, and he continues fighting the monster that was created by the Death Messiah. The thing I really find interesting about this is while every other Ranger is fighting other executives or IRA members, who are now doped up with the executive serum, the camera crews are only ever focused on Sousei while he battles this dog-like monster, and the actual work of taking down Yakushi is left to D and the rest of the gang. When the battle finally ends and the dog is defeated, Red questions why it went down so easily, and Yellow infers that someone else must have defeated the main body, which pisses him off, since to him this should have been his moment. For the great hero to take down the final boss would have been an incredible story and moment for the media to capture. Fortunately, the public didn't think too much about it and the Rangers were forgiven. Public face is saved, and Sousei shares his own personal story about how the original Dragon Keeper show was also crushed by society, like how they almost were, and how devastated he was as a child to learn that his favorite show was canceled. He proclaims that your dreams will come true if you work for them, and that the Dragon Keepers are everlasting. I am Red Keeper, the protagonist of this story. He looks on as the people cheer for him, now feeling loved again and appearing to be the savior. We are so back, he thinks to himself. Unfortunately, this victory will be short-lived. As he's walking back from the battle with Ryu, he meets with Shinya, the Yellow Keeper, and is surrounded by black suit members from the Pink Battalion whose job is to clean up problems. Because of how problematic he is, Red is told that he's being replaced, but of course no one could possibly replace the great Red Keeper, which is why he's being replaced by himself, a clone. Shinya shows Red his clone and tells him that he will take his place and they will alter his memory so that he doesn't remember this and the status quo will be upheld. This reveal flips all of Sousei's story on his head as he realizes that all the garbage that he's been saying to everyone, all of the memories he has are possibly lies, and the best part about all of it is he thinks back to that moment when he was with Suzukuri and told her that her clones shouldn't have rights. They shouldn't exist. They are only tools. They don't matter, and real lives are created with love, not machines. It's everything that he said to her that comes crashing down on top of his face. He's no different from her, and to make things worse, he's essentially no different from D or any of the other foot soldiers. Red's entire life has possibly been fabricated and fed to him. He is the face of the Rangers, but his existence isn't real. Who knows how many times he's been replaced. Out with the old, in with the new, Shinya says, with a smile on his face, and Red is blasted away and believed to be killed. The world would never know the truth about Sousei being a clone and getting replaced, but he would survive this assassination attempt and be taken in by Sane and her daughter Momiji, the two who were seen at Chidori's house in the woods believed to be his family. Sousei now has amnesia and for once has become a genuine person. He's not a bad guy anymore. Half a year goes by and his time spent in the slums is helping out Sane around the house and laying low. She agrees to let him stay until he gets his memories back, and things are pretty calm for a while until he runs into some folks who recognize him and gets into a street fight. For the first time in 6 months, his instincts kick in during this scrap and he easily takes down the guys, and since he's with Momiji, they tell him to meet up with them tomorrow and they'll listen to his story, not believing he has amnesia. The guys he meets are people who took separate paths after the three-way battle arc, and he meets up with the now Neo Rangers, former Ranger members, IRA members, two being invaders, and Sakurama, who now wears a jester outfit and a mask covering his face, is their leader. Of course, every one of these people knows exactly who Sousei is, and he tries to get them to give up information on himself, but that comes with a price. These guys are all outcasts or people who were wronged by the Rangers, and in order to trust him, he has to accompany them in finding out how invaders are being created in the slums, so now he's tasked with a mission. When he finds out about the foot soldiers, he makes a comment that pisses off Irabe, who yells at him, saying he's the source of all evil, and Sousei begins to question if he even wants to know who he truly is anymore. With amnesia, Sousei goes along with everything he's told and doesn't have the same aggression and rude nature as before. He's recognized again when he meets the boss of the slums and things go south, but Sousei is able to recover the situation for the most part. Things get a little more complicated when a Kuroko from Pink Battalion kills the guy they're here to see, but drops a picture of Sane, the woman who saved his life, and he remembers his sister and getting the job as Red Keeper for the show. Sousei rushes back home to let Sane know that her life is in danger. When they leave, he tells her that some of his memories came back. He remembers meeting Sane in the past and being passionate about being a dragon keeper on the show, and when he reveals that he knows all this, including that he was rich, she stabs him, telling him that she had been waiting for this moment her entire life and that he ruined everything. Sane finally gets to get her revenge, and Sousei, being grateful to her and realizing that he must have been a bad person, accepts his fate. But of course that's not enough for Sane. She wants him to know everything, and she tells him about his past, how she had gotten her dream job to write for the show, and he eventually ruined it by being arrested for murder, and then sometime later showing up at her home, where she now lived with the actor who played Green Keeper on the show, saying he was getting the gang back together, but to be Rangers in real life. It seems that Sousei told them about the plan to enslave the foot soldiers and become real heroes, and Sane's husband couldn't live with it and took his own life, leaving her to take care of their soon-to-be child by herself. Sousei, of course, finds comedy in the situation. After realizing he was Red Keeper, he thought for sure that meant he was a good guy, the hero that everyone looked up to. But in her eyes, he was a villain and understands his role in this story, a tale of revenge where he is stabbed and killed. The getaway vehicle they're in is attacked by an invader, and then the pink member from before shows up and takes Sane. Sousei is attacked and makes quick work of the Kuroko, demanding they tell him where Sane was taken. When he arrives, he finds her dead body and Momiji kneeling next to her. She took her own life, but the Kuroko waited for him to show up so that they can ambush him. Momiji, after realizing he's the Red Keeper, asks him to beat them up, and Sousei demolishes them in a frighteningly efficient manner. The main Kuroko tells him he has no place to go, no home, and his replacement is an improved version who doesn't give in to his anger, to which Sousei responds that he's great at anger management. He stabs his foot into her and begins counting to 6, showing that he has enough self-control to not immediately beat her to death and state that what he's doing is justice. Sousei saves Momiji and avenges Sane, and for the first time does appear to be a hero, although covered in blood. Now, fueled by his newfound sense of justice and revenge for the Rangers, he joins the Neo Rangers, and they become a proper second set of Rangers that the public and the original Rangers can't ignore anymore. This is the story of Sousei Akabane, the man who had it all, lost it all, and now has a new look on life. From a hero who only behaves heroically in the bright lights to someone that swears to take down the evil that is the Rangers. Where will his story go from here? We'll have to wait and see. Before I close up, I want to say there are still bits of mystery left for his character. Who was Soshi? Was it an alias or previous life, and does he just have that memory, or maybe was it altered? The TV broadcast we saw states specifically that Soshi Akabane was arrested, not Sousei, and Sane calls him Soshi when she stabs him, and there's never a mention of there being a father or anything like that, but he also mentions Soshi himself when he's fighting the Death Messiah. There's also the other stuff about his memories, how much of them are real, and if he does truly have a sister, why does she also sort of look like the girl who was being experimented on that shows up in some of Suzukiri's scenes with her clones? Hopefully we get all those answers soon. This was a character analysis and overall covering of everything to do with Sousei Akabane, the Red Keeper. If you like this video, please leave a like and subscribe. Please feel free to leave comments too if you like to add to the conversation or mention anything I forgot or maybe got wrong. I'm not perfect after all. More Ranger videos are on the way, and I hope you enjoy them. I'll see you soon.